Welcome to another episode of the PGTK podcast, an interview podcast. My name is Emmanuel. As you can hear from my voice compared to the previous episode, I am now at full strength to finally get this new episode going. And on this week's episode, we have the lovely Josh Shimbashi. We talk about a lot of his matches that he had, including having 5 wrestling matches in 4 days, as well as having a 4-way match at Inspire AD with Brick Savage, Cavens, as well as Epidemius Jr. We also talk about what his goals are in 2024 and what his advice is to his younger self. And let me tell you, his advice is probably the most unique out of all the episodes I've done so far. So just listen into the podcast all the way to the end of it. And I hope that this episode is a great one, much like every other episode on this podcast is as well. Follow this podcast, but most importantly, send this episode to 2 people so that people can enjoy this episode along with us. And without further ado, here is our conversation with Josh Shimbashi. Thank you so much for swinging by, Shimbashi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, man?
Good. So 2023, that's everyone's year in wrestling so far, including yours. How was your year? What was your 2023 like?
I thought it was pretty good, actually. There's a lot of, I think every year since I've started wrestling, it's been a better year, which is exactly what you want. I mean, you definitely don't want to be regressing or anything. But yeah, overall, I thought it was really, really good. Definitely felt like I came more into my own, and then got to do some out of state traveling as well, which was pretty great. So yeah, only good things coming up.
What were some destinations last year?
So last year, we did a little bit of we did Oklahoma, we did Kansas of all places, Arkansas, Mississippi, and then Las Vegas, Nevada. Those were the big 5, and then obviously Texas.
And how do you keep up with the traveling all over these states? Because it's definitely a challenge. But how did you overcome traveling to those destinations?
I think just repetition, So I'm in Dallas now, but for most of 2023, I was in College Station, and so since I started, I was driving like 2, 3, 4 hours every weekend, and so you kind of get used to that part. And so, Kansas was the only one that I thought was really tricky because that's 8 hours, and that's from Dallas. So I rode up with Danny and Ollie from Culture Shock fame, and we did 8 hours there, 4 hours back, stopped in a hotel, and then just 4 hours back. So it still isn't anything too bad. In Vegas, I flew, which was really cool, and way easier as well. So yeah, nothing's really bothered me to the point where I've been like, oh, this is way too long of a car ride. I'm usually good for 6 hours. It's just past that, like Kansas, when it starts getting a little tough. But yeah, nothing too bad yet.
What was your favorite destination out of all of them last year?
Oh, it's Vegas for sure. I thought that was definitely Vegas. I mean, I'm not trying to, no fright, but when it's the Las Vegas, Nevada versus Kansas, Mississippi, it's gonna be a little bit cooler to go to Las Vegas. Plus it was the first time I was flying out to wrestle, which was, that's gonna change your perspective a lot. But yeah, that was really, really cool. We were out wrestled the same day, and then I went to Future Stars of Wrestling to hang out for a little bit, and then I flew back that same night because that was the only way I could feasibly get there. And so I remember I was at that airport till about, I want to say 2 a.m. because our flight got delayed, and so I remember that sleep in the airport and on the plane. Yeah, but again, nothing too bad at all.
What was the difference? Driving to flying to your destination. What was the difference between both modes of transporting to your events?
I mean, flying's great. That gets 2 hours. You can fall asleep or just be on your phone or watch TV. That's obviously way better. Driving's not too bad. I'm usually the one driving in carloads. For Kansas, I drove the whole time. I had people who could have driven for me. I don't like people driving my car. It makes me very uncomfortable. So I avoid that. In fact, literally last week, one of my friends just totaled one of my other friends' cars driving back. So
Oh.
that's why it's just me. If it happens, it's on me, and I don't trust anybody else driving usually. But yeah, it's not too bad. I just if you have people to talk to, like I'm very much a talker on road trips more than just listening to music. So if you don't like that, don't ride with me.
At that point, you get free peanuts when you fly. At that point,
Yeah, absolutely.
and of course, like with your year as well, I've seen a lot of your YouTube content on your channel. How has that helped you? Not only as a wrestler, but like how has that helped you? How has that helped you hone your craft as the year went by?
I mean, it's definitely something that I've been slacking on lately, and it started as just something fun to do, and I thought it was a cool way to document everything I was doing and a way to look back at how I started. But it definitely like helped me in terms of like editing and like kind of rewatching my matches back. And as much as I hate to admit it, there were definitely some things where I was trying to make into a highlight reel, and I was like, there's really not a lot here that I could really do. So kind of that was
Mm.
probably the biggest takeaway. I was like, oh, I need to like kind of step it up in terms of performance, and so that probably be the biggest thing. I don't foresee myself vlogging anytime soon, but who knows?
At least last year, you actually like record everything in every match that you've done. And one thing I wanted to bring up, and I was watching, and I was doing a little bit of what you're doing on your video side at Lions Pride. You had 5 matches in 4 days.
Yeah.
How crazy was it, and how did you overcome each of those matches?
I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm somebody who, if I could wrestle every day, I 100% would. And I was very blessed to be in College Station, to be going to school and having my tuition paid for, my housing paid for, so I didn't have to
Oh, that's
have
good.
a cute job. Yeah, so it's not something that I've preached to anybody because everybody's got jobs, everybody's got priorities. But at the time, I really did it. So I was able to wrestled twice for Lions Pride on a Wednesday for this thing that we were filming and uploading to YouTube. And then I did Texas Contender Series, which I highly recommend to anybody who's starting out or just wants to pick up some extra reps or just check out what New Texas is doing. I think they're one of the best promotions in Texas. And I have a lot to thank in terms of my progress and my notoriety to Texas contenders. They were one of the first people that really took a shot on me. And so I'm always grateful for that. And then I'll be honest, I don't really remember off the top of my head the other promotions like in that order. I believe one of them was MPS. And then I'm not sure what the Friday one was. I feel bad. But I'm sure Sunday was either Inspire or it was probably Inspire would be my guess. But I'm sure that on that YouTube video you can figure it out. Yeah, I'm having a real hard time remembering what I did that Friday, but I'm sure if I was able to look back at it, I'd remember.
And I'm gonna highlight like these matches. Out of these 5, I'm gonna have the list in front of me. Versus a security guard,
Hmm.
which is always a great match. You have a security guard.
Yeah, is what it is.
DJ Austin,
Mhm.
Bulldog Jr., Nastor, and Future. Which one
Yeah.
was your favorite out of all those 5?
Um, Bulldog Jr. is always fun to work, I will say. I think he's really, really good. Yeah, I'd probably have to say the Bulldog one. Future's great as well. He started out. But yeah, that was I'd say probably either Future or Bulldog. Yeah.
Like, what was unique about that match in particular, as you observed it as part of that match? Like, have you ever had a chance to like work with them and see how their strengths and working with them?
Yeah, it's well, Future's like 16. So it's kind of crazy to like
Hmm.
it's a lot like like being in the ring with like Mia Friday when you're like, it's crazy how young this person is, and you can kind of see the potential, and like you really have so much to grow from there. And I'm by no means like a veteran or anything to have all this knowledge. It's just,
Right.
I can see what I've done in 3 years, and the fact that 3 years from now, Future will be 19, which is when I started. So I think named pretty appropriate. I think he has a lot of potential. And then Underdog was just, he's always been somebody that he works really hard. He's at Texas Contenders a lot, and I think that was like he had just turned heel, and so that was a really fun dynamic to work with, if I'm not mistaken. And then I
Hmm.
remember in the first match, the referee didn't count our pin, which was really tough. Like, he did not kick out. I had him. The ref was like 1, 2, and then just stopped it. So it was good to like kind of do that match again and have it be a little bit better.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like seeing those 4 days. That must have taken a lot out of you. And how did you manage to recover once those 4 days are done, or you're just like next match?
Where a lot of it, I mean, I try to eat right. That's the main thing, and I try to stay in fairly good shape, for cardio. And then I do saunas a lot, and I did cryotherapy when I was in College Station because we had
Mm.
a sponsorship deal with a cryo place nearby, and so I highly recommend taking care of your body. Like, wrestling hurts at the end of the day, and doing it back to back. And not only that, but then being in the car for such extended periods of time, that's going to be really, really tough on you. And so, like, I've invested in a back pillow for my car seat, which I know seems
I have
silly,
that
but
too.
yeah, you're going to need it. But yeah, I just think I do stand by saunas a lot. I think it's a good way to get rid of inflammation. And then, yeah, if you have access to a cryo place, I highly recommend trying it out.
Yeah, and what's interesting too, like I do more on the I did cryo last month, and this is just more on nursing a back injury. It does wonders after a couple of
Yeah,
sessions where my back doesn't even feel as twinged. Like even if it's like 3 minutes in the chamber, next thing I'm like, wow, what back? Like what back is happening?
yeah.
And what's interesting too, and I want to bring this up too, like you faced Danny Orion twice. What was it like working with him?
I think Danny's probably the hottest up and comer in Texas, including myself. I think he's
Mm.
supremely talented. He's charismatic. He's got a great look. I truly, I mean, he says it in his thing. Like, you can't deny how good that guy is. And so, yeah, he's great. I have nothing but good things to say about Danny.
And was there a match that made you win him over?
Well, Danny and I have been friends since I think we both started. So, like, we had met at this like backyard, like 10 people in attendance promotion. And like, promoter had a history of not paying people. And there was all this stuff going on. But like, Dan and I, we were new. And so we were like, we got to take what we can get. I remember we met him there. Well, Zane and I met him, and Ollie as well. So I've known Danny for a while and we've been close for a long time. And so, like, when I was approached by finally getting to wrestle him, that was a really, really cool opportunity, and it was just something where, like, I think we killed it. We burned the house down.
How has that camaraderie built over time?
I mean, if you have a good match with anybody, I think you get closer, or to have like a moment like that. Like, I do remember, and again, the match isn't perfect, and there's always stuff to improve upon. But I remember after we had wrestled, I was getting tweets saying that like Shimbashi and Danny Orion are the future of Texas wrestling and all that stuff. And hey, I don't know if that's entirely true, but it definitely means a lot. And so that was a really cool moment to share with him. And I definitely think you get closer with people after having these matches together.
It's interesting, like it takes time, and then was there a moment where you started to get with each other as you started facing in the ring?
I mean, I think we've always been on the same page and that's why we get along so well. And so, like, when we get in there, it's really, I will say this, it's really easy with Danny. It's always been easy. He's really, really good in there. Definitely somebody to keep an eye on for sure.
Okay, interesting. And of course, this is your year. Do you have any matches in 2023 that you call your match of the year in the ring?
I mean, I'm always really critical of my matches. So I don't know if I have one that I'm like, this is perfect. But the ones that I enjoy the most are going to be my matches with Danny and then my matches with my partner, MJ Santana. We had 2 matches this year in a span of like 2 months. And that probably tops the matches I had with Danny just because like that's such a cool moment to share with somebody that I love and that I cherish and that we had the picture of us facing each other again on our wall, and it was just like it was great. It was a really cool thing. Could have wished for a better time.
So it's just like a series of matches that you really couldn't pinpoint the match, but working with the opponents that you face, that's where it kind of mattered on your side.
Yeah, I think it's a thing where it's like the things that like mean the most to me. Because I don't know if I can put any match above any other one just because I think there's so much that I can do or be better at. But like, I got to wrestle Little Evil or Prince Adam, and that was a really cool moment because that's somebody who's helped me out a lot in my wrestling career. I've had about 100 matches this year, so it's hard for me to, I'm sure I'm leaving people out on like people who've helped me or like really sentimental moments like that. But yeah, I think those are the main ones. If I think of any while we're talking, I'll definitely let you know.
Yeah, that's pretty cool too. And I want to bring up a match too. You had it was at Inspire. You had the 4-way. Like, what was that like? Because that was a banger in that event. Like, how, especially with when Brick had Cavens almost doing a Hulk throw. Like, what was that match like from the ringside when you faced them?
I mean, I wish people don't really talk about how I body slammed the Brick Savage in that match too. They seem to just talk about the big man who's huge throwing a little guy. I think it's a little bit more impressive that I body slammed him, but I mean, that's neither here nor there. Man, that match is great. That's another one that I was like, that was just so much fun, and all those guys are pros. Epidemia is somebody who I also think you should definitely keep an eye on if you're watching Texas wrestling. That kid is he's fantastic. I think he just did some work for AAA. So the last thing he needs is like my thumb of approval or anything. He's got it on lock. But no, he's great. Brick's great. Cadence is awesome. No, it was just a great match where it's like you put four people who are you kind of feel the passion that every single one of them has, and you just deliver. But yeah, I think people should just mention more that I body slammed Brick. I think that's a little bit cooler than him doing what he always does, which is throwing people. That's just
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there.
Because when were you watching when the Hulk throw happened, or were you just off into the side when the slam happened?
No, I didn't see it. I saw it on Twitter after, and I was like, "All right, Raptor now, perfect." I didn't see it at ringside. I was probably nursing my ribs or something else that one of them did to me because I think that was after Epidemia had jumped on me, so I think I was out of that.
Yeah, and it's one of those matches where, like, within that 5 seconds of that throw, like the crowd just like it was extreme popping. Everyone was there, and it's
Yeah.
nice to see like matches like that where the crowd got really into it, and by the end of it, like people were entertained by the end of it,
Mhm.
and it's one of those events where like you never know what's gonna happen until someone gets slammed on the floor, like Hulk, like Hulk for that year too. So it's kind of nice seeing how that match came to be, and of course with this year, and with 2024 already underway. Like, what do you have in mind in terms of how your goals are professionally and in the wrestling ring too?
I mean, I think the goal, like every year, is just it's the same thing. Just gonna want to hit it harder. It's just get out there more, become the best wrestler that I can be. And then just I want to have more moments like I had in 2023. I think I spent a lot of my first 2 years, and admittedly, like 2023 as well, just being so focused on what's next and moving forward that you don't really smell the roses and realize like what you're doing. And I just keep thinking back to like there's a picture of me when I was 10 and I have like a CM Punk shirt. I've got the CM Punk gauntlets or the tape. I've got the CM Punk hat, and I'm just like, I'm all in on professional wrestling. And I think if that kid like saw what I'm doing now, they'd be blown away. And so it's just, I think it's important to remember, like, at the end of the day, everybody's there because they love wrestling. And so the fact that anybody's stepping in that ring is truly a magical thing.
And do you have aspirations to go to like the bigger promotion, or you're just like as I may?
Absolutely. I think, you know, I think absolutely bigger promotions is on the horizon and something that I want for myself. Um, this is the most important thing to me. This is everything. And whether or not anything does actually become of it, I want to get the most out of a professional wrestling that I can.
And it's kind of, I'm curious too. You had a bit of a stint at AEW
Mhm.
last year. Like, what was that like? Granted, the match wasn't in your favor. Like, what was it like taking a peek into All Elite Wrestling last year? Like, what was that like?
I mean, it was a great experience. I'd love to do it again. It was really cool to see like where um like what the pinnacle of professional wrestling is, and so yeah, I didn't think I had a match on there. I think I came out of the Dalton. I was one of the Dalton Castle boys, and then I think
Yeah.
I pulled apart Hangman and Mox, and I think that was the extent. Zayn got a match though, which I was super excited for him for. That was insane.
And did you have like go-to people that you had advice with, even though it was like a few minutes? Like, did you meet like any of the veterans? Did you get access to like, hey, what can I do for this?
Yeah, I mean everyone there knows that like everyone loves professional wrestling. So a lot of them are really willing and able to give advice when need be. So I definitely got a lot of pointers from people, which was again, no one needed to talk to me. I was a nobody at the show. So the fact that anybody was able to give me the time of day really meant a lot. And I do thank you for that if you're if you're watching.
They just pat you in the back, like, all right, moving on. All right, next
Yeah.
match.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And what's interesting too, and on the 25th, Battle Wars is coming. Will you be taking part of it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think yeah, I believe so. That's February 25th, right?
Yes.
Yes, I am taking part.
And what makes it for you? What makes it special for you with Battle Wars? Because now we're seeing Inspire and New Texas doing this event. What makes it special to you with Battle Wars coming up on the 25th?
I think that the top two promotions in Texas are Inspire and New Texas Pro. That's my opinion.
Mm,
I think that those are the two that have the best matches and have the most stacked roster. And I think what's interesting is a lot of that roster does overlap. I mean, Culture Shock is the New Texas Pro Tag Team Champions, but they've been at Inspire since the beginning. Danny, I think, Pure Prestige champion right now. And so I think when you watch those shows, what I really like about them is you look at the whole card, like, okay, these are the people who are on top in Texas wrestling, or at least have a name about them or have some notoriety. And so you're putting the top two
right.
against each other. So it's gonna be a really cool experience for sure.
Yeah. And what makes New Texas such a special promotion from your side, along with working with Inspire?
Well, I think a lot of it is just the quality. I don't think there's a show that like puts on a better show than Inspire or New Texas. Their slogan is all killer, no filler for Inspire,
Yeah.
and I think they've met that every single time. There's not like a break match. It's just go, 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 go. And then, I mean, New Texas has had some of the most like important and like best professional wrestlers on their show. Brian Keith held their title for I want like over what 1,000
That's
days or
right.
something. Stephen Wolf as well, who's fantastic. Rachel Rose, Little Evil, they're all Bo Amir, they're all great. And they really make a real killer show. And I think also like New Texas brings in a real great crowd as well as Inspired, the two best crowds on the scene. Again, that's just my opinion, but yeah, no, I really do think they're the two best promotions you can get on in Texas.
Right. And I want to bring up a storyline too with Inspire. You've had Roxy as your manager with Roxy
Hmm.
Castillo LLC. How did that? And I talked to Brick Savage before I heard his side of the story.
Hmm.
Where do you see in that partnership with Roxy Castillo, with Brick, and with Rachel? Like, what makes that faction very special?
Well, I think number one, each and every one of us brings something different to the table. And I think that that's probably going to be the strongest thing. Also, Roxy promised that every single one of us is winning a championship in
Mm,
2024. So definitely got some gold on the horizon, which is great. And then Brick, definitely somebody you want on your side rather than against you. So yeah, we're best friends now. We hang out all the time.
and like, how do you play? And how do you play with each other's strengths? And we had the match with the Camachos back with Ecstasy Go.
Mhm.
Like, what makes both Rachel and Brick? How do you play with their strengths to win that match?
I mean, I think what's great about Brick is that they're so like ferocious. Like you really can't stop them.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, you've seen what they've done to Cavens, and then even like Angel. They power slammed him. So
mm,
like that alone is something that you definitely want to have on your team. And then Rachel, I think probably I could be wrong about this, but I think she's the most prestigious Texas women's wrestler. I don't think there's a belt from a major promotion in Texas that she hasn't held even multiple times. So I think having somebody like that is definitely, I'd win. It's somebody you want on your side rather than against.
And how does Roxy play into the bigger picture? Like when you approached her about the faction, like what makes her special? Of course, the titles will be one thing. What makes her special as you interacted with her when she started the partnership?
She has such a deep and loving history with that Inspire fan base that it really is something that is wild when you really think about it. Because she's not just a wrestler; she's a manager, she's a personality, and yet these people like
Mm.
they care about her and they love her. So having that big seal of approval from Roxy, I mean, the rest of the fans are going to follow suit.
And what's interesting with Roxy too, like she has this personality that like she will back the crowd up when a match happens.
Mhm.
I remember her and T Ray, even though like the match got hectic, but Roxy was still there hyping people up, and like everyone was with her, and it's nice to see that partnership now with Roxy Castillo LLC. So what do you have a championship belt in mind for this year with that partnership?
I mean, so when I debuted for Inspire, I won a number one contender fatal four way, and I got to pick any title I wanted, and I picked Great Scott and Undefinable Championship, and that is a belt that I've yet to hold, and I ended up losing to Great Scott in my second match in Inspire. Now we're getting to almost a year since that match has happened, and I'm not the same person that I was a year ago. So that's definitely the belt that I want to get in 2024 for sure. That being said, Danny Orion's the current Pure Prestige champion. Him and I are currently 1-1. So, trilogy
Ooh.
fights right there as well.
Oh my gosh, this is it's Rocky and Apollo. We're gonna see this
There
year,
you go.
huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So at least like this year has been kind of like this year has been this year has been very interesting, especially for Inspire. So like how has the wrestling scene, Texas wrestling scene, been in your eyes since when you were on board back then?
I mean, I think I started right after the pandemic lifted and everybody was opening up again. And so I really think we've seen the scene grow into getting back to what it was before the pandemic. What's great about Texas, and I used to say this all the time when I was at Lions Pride, was that if you want to wrestle, you can. There's never real excuse to not have a show every single week or
Right.
weekend. The Texas Contender Series runs every Thursday. MPX, not every Thursday, every other Thursday. MPX runs every Saturday. AAPW runs every Saturday. You have WAW, you have Heart of Texas, you have Inspire, you have Reality of Wrestling, the New Texas Pro main show. Then there's Spur, Lions Pride. And then you go to San Antonio, there's Dog Pound, there's Wrestle Shop, there's also Wrestle Rave in Houston. And I'm forgetting quite a few as well that I've worked for, or APW is another great one. So like if there's a
Yeah.
lot of opportunity here to really hone your craft. And when I started, that's what I did. I really had the fortune of being able to wrestle as much as I wanted. So like having the 5 matches in 4 days, that wasn't just like a one-time thing. That was just something that like I was able to do. And again, not everybody is going to be as fortunate as I was to be in that situation, but you most definitely, if you're in the Houston area or you're in College Station or you're in Waco, you can make your way down to Texas Contenders on Thursday, or you can make your way to MPX on a Saturday. Like I said, there's always a show running.
Yeah, nice segue to close our conversation. But first, thank you so much
Yeah.
for having you on, Josh. And honestly, like
Yeah.
it's honestly like you've had a lot of work, and a lot of the work is paying off this year, last year, and this year, of course. With this year coming, I wish you the best. And there's a lot of stuff going on, but I do want to end on this question. The World Health Organization listed adolescents between 10 and 19. Around that age group, people will learn within that age group and picking things up. Now, if you were in a room and you sat with young Josh Shimbashi at age 13, what would you give him as advice, or what would you want to talk to him about?
It's a 13. Um, I'd tell him that I still don't understand why people were upset that Batista won the Rumble. because as a kid, I didn't get it. And I honestly, I still don't get it. So I'd probably just let him know that you're not crazy. There's other people who feel this way. And B, so that
No, I'm one
yeah,
too. I'm one too. Don't worry.
I remember being 13. I was so excited. Batista was my favorite wrestler. He is coming back. It's a great thing. I never got it. I never got what people were saying. So that'd probably be the main thing, man. Just hey, yeah, Batista's gonna win the Rumble, and people are gonna be upset about it.
Everyone is. Everyone is. Wow, that's a unique answer for the advice portion, because usually someone says great advice, and like, and it's like, like, keep your head up. But this is the first time saying Batista was the hot take for 13-year-old you.
Yeah, I'm just telling him, hey, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not crazy. That's all I tell him.
Oh my goodness. But thanks again for having you on the podcast today. And you have the floor. Let us know where to find you if you have any upcoming events.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. I'm not great with my calendar, but I'm sure if you follow my social media, you'll see where I am for that weekend. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, or at Shimbashi Pro. And then on Facebook, it's just Josh Shimbashi. If you want to follow my YouTube channel and see these vlogs that I no longer post anymore, it is also at Shimbashi. So thank you again, sir. I really, really appreciate it.
And that is our conversation with Josh Shimbashi. And ever since we've had this video call with him a few weeks back and editing this episode along the way, I admired how much work he's put in to become the best professional wrestler he could be. His constant grind, his constant hustle, and you can tell all the work that he's done is finally paying off over the past few years. And it'll get bigger from here, so I wish him the best and continued success as he starts doing his wrestling journey to become the best professional wrestler in the world. And on next week's episode, I really can't give much away again. What I can give you is that this guest is featured in Reality of Wrestling. This Houston-based wrestling promotion is founded by WWE Hall of Famer and 5-time world champion Booker T. So you'll have to wait till next week who this guest is, and I cannot wait to tell you who that is. And you can follow this podcast on all our socials on X, Instagram, Threads, as well as Spotify at PGTK Pod. Leave us a 5-star review, and let's get this algorithm going with these reviews. And of course, send us an email at pgtkpod@gmail.com for any questions, comments, as well as being a guest on this podcast. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Be awesome with each other. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of the PGTK Podcast, an interview podcast.